One. This is Nifty Culture. I'm Pio, and this morning I have the pleasure of speaking with a very talented artist that participates largely in one of my favorite mediums, photography, Victoria West. How's it going, Victoria?
Hi, it's going really good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that we were able to connect here. I'm a big fan of your photography. You and I have talked before. We've kind of gone through your pictures, so I'm definitely excited to go about it on stream. Before we kind of dive in, could you give people some high level context on your creative background? I know you've been a professional photographer for a long time, and I think that your story is a really cool one of how you kind of started competing at a more of a like national and international level. Branching out from the commercial work that you had been doing for a long time. So if you could give people some context, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Um, so I have been a professional portrait photographer for about 13 years, and I run a local portrait studio. I mainly photograph like women, and I do a lot of business portraits, and that's what pays the bills. But in my spare time, I have been creating um, very highly composited work to tell the stories that I want to tell for probably about 4 years. And the only thing that I've ever done with them is put them into competitions. I never tried to sell them. I live in a really small town in New Brunswick, Canada, which most people don't know where that is, but it's on the Atlantic coast. Around here, the galleries, like they're pretty small, and the work that most of them sell is not, you know, really what I'm doing. So I just had a really small audience, and I didn't think it was worth even trying to sell them. So yeah, I was just creating work that I wanted to make, and I was really lucky to do really well in competitions. So I've won quite a few awards. I made history this year by winning Portrait Photographer of the Year with the Professional Photographers of Canada image competition for the third year in a row. So that's never been done, and I was really excited about that. And I've also been on Team Canada. So every year, Canada and countries from all over the world submit 18 images into the World Photographic Cup. It's like the Olympics of photography, basically. So each country, you compete to get on the team, and then the team goes kind of, to the Olympics, and then you try to get medals there. And I've been on the team for the past 3 years, and I actually won a medal. I won a bronze medal in 2019. So I went to Norway, and they like put Olympic medal around my neck. It was like, how is this happening right now? So yeah, those were kind of like the highlights so far. But yeah, I've been really lucky that the judges have received my work so well. But I still hadn't figured out a way to like monetize it. I knew that's what I wanted to put more energy into, more time. But like if you're not making money from it, you still have to do your job, and then you're only doing that on the side. So when I came into the NFT space, I was like, this might be a good place for me. And so far, so good. So actually, I'm at the point now where I'm scaling back my business a little bit because I need more time to do my NFT stuff, and I don't have it. So I'm kind of at that like tipping point now, which is really exciting. So
Well, that's amazing. And yeah, I mean, if people don't have creative backgrounds, they might not understand that, at the end of the day, winning creative competitions. Well, first of all, there aren't that many mediums, I think, that have structure like that. I think photography is a little bit less, a little bit of an outlier in the sense that there is that structure available. And then to have your work, basically rise to the top, right? Because it's a totally subjective thing where someone's going to say, like, this picture is better than that picture, and consistently do it, right? 3 years in a row, multiple years in a row, at a national level, at an international level. I think that people should really take note of that and realize how impressive it is. And then on top of that, really since the last time you and me talked, I think you and me talked maybe like 6 weeks ago, something like that. Maybe my timing is totally off because NFT time moves so fast. But between last time and now, there's definitely been an absolute explosion in terms of like the market's demand for photography, like really good photography based NFT projects. So I'm curious, have you experienced any of that? Have you felt any of that heat?
Yeah, it's been really crazy actually. Like a friend of mine just the other day, a photographer friend, he just completely blew up overnight. And I think like the floor right now is like 8 ETH. I mean, he went selling things for I have his work on Tezos that I got, for like 5 Tez, and now he's like literally 8 ETH. It's just crazy. So I definitely seen, wild like explosion. I feel like the type of photography that is exploding right now is the more photojournalistic type of work. Landscapes obviously have been doing well, really since early on. But yeah, this photojournalistic wave is on fire right now. It's not really what I do, although I do have something in the works that's going to be coming, to kind of get into the collectible side of things a bit. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, I can't say too much about it, but yeah, I am working on something. So I am more of a fine art photographer, but I'm also a portrait photographer, right? Like that's like what you got up right now. That's a portrait. I don't consider that fine art. Like that image is fine art. That's fine art. Like those things
Yep.
take me forever.
This too,
But
right?
yeah, exactly. That image actually was just bought by Calumet 2
Wow.
days ago. Bought that, so that one had been originally minted on Ethereum in the spring, and that was one of the banned images. And I burned it off of that platform, and Calumet approached me and asked me if I would be willing to participate in a raffle that they're doing. So I minted it on Calumet. They purchased it from me, and they are raffling it off. So you can get your raffle tickets by sending them Callums. I think it's like 10 Callums per raffle ticket. So yeah, if people can't afford my one of ones, that's a way you can get a free one. So
Very
that,
cool. Wow.
yeah, I love it that they wanted to do that, because right after that happened, actually, Chris Duchesne, who's the COO of Calumet, he had messaged me and said, "I know a platform that would be more than happy to have your work on it." So that was kind of the point where I ended up more on Tezos because of what had happened there. So that definitely changed things. That was a game changer for me for sure. But it also helped grow my profile a lot. So yeah, I don't know what we were talking about before that.
Well, just talking about your work and how you've been doing in the space. I'm not going to keep asking you about the collectibles project, but that's some alpha right there. Like our viewers, they're always looking for like what to buy next. And I mean that sounds like something that's pretty good. Are you officially associated? Can you just remind me? I think I know the answer, but are you officially associated with NFT Goddesses?
Well, like I'm in the group. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a little extra alpha, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening, that's a good sign. So yeah, I mean, I'm playing right now, but at the same time, like a very talented photographer, ton of experience, ton of accolades, right? And you're saying that you have an upcoming project that could be exciting, and you have a very strong group of supporting artists with you and behind you. I think that's something people should definitely get excited about. So yeah, I guess moving on to like your individual work, it sounds like you've had some interesting experiences so far with them with burning that piece on that platform, having another platform approach you. What comes next for you on an individual basis? Do you have any plans to do fine art images and release them on a platform? If you're taking a step away from the commercial work, first of all, I think that's probably a very good sign, right, that there's a lot of cool things coming down the pipe. But what's going to kind of come next to you individually?
Well, I am working on a drop for Maker's Place. So
Awesome.
that's so I do have a collection that's going to be dropped there. They're going to be featuring me, so that's really exciting. I'm not exactly sure what the dates are on that yet, just because we have to get some stuff together beforehand. But the work that's going to be going in is some of like my top, best, most awarded images, and the theme is going to be like being human. So essentially, like, you know, moments that everyone can kind of relate to, the kind of like what's at the core of being human. So those are going to be dropping. I also have that other project that I mentioned that's sort of a collectible project. So that's going to take a lot of my creative attention. And then there's also some other stuff that everything's so secretive right now. I can't say too much, but there's been some talk with producers of films. So, yeah, a lot of interest in the NFT space, and being someone who's in it early has given me more opportunities than I ever would have possibly imagined. So, yeah, as far as like what I'm going to be creating, I'm definitely, you can expect to see a lot more of my social justice type of work, specifically probably focused around animal rights. So, that's always very popular. Not really.
Well, you and I talked about this last time, right? And so, would this fall into that category? This piece?
Yes, for sure. That is the other band piece. Um, so definitely, that series is something that I will continue to be working on, but it will be evolving, I think, slightly. I've got some potential collaborations with other artists, and yeah, there's so much going on. It's super exciting. I think this fall is just going to be a total game changer for me. So, yeah.
I genuinely think so too, especially given what you've told us so far. So I'm just really excited to talk to you before, and maybe we can set something up so I can talk to you after, because that's going to be, I think it's going to be 0 to 100 for you. So can you talk a little bit about this piece? Because we talked about it when we spoke last time. I think it's really interesting, the themes of it and how they represent, your beliefs and what you stand for. So yeah, could you kind of go into detail about this one?
Yeah, for sure. I love that piece. It's called Humane Meat. It was bought by the super talented Chantel Martin, who's an incredible artist. So I'm really happy to have that in her collection. Um, the image is a alien driving a slaughter truck full of humans, and it was inspired by pictures of pigs actually in slaughter trucks, because they're very beat up. I mean, they're coming out of factory farms. They've been through hell, and they're terrified. So the that was the inspiration. I surprisingly had a pretty easy time convincing 7 women to model for this. I remember.
Just a normal day of modeling, right? Totally normal.
They're not models, right? Like, one of them's like an eye doctor. The other one is a makeup artist. Like, the other one's a hairstylist. Like, they're just people that I know, people that I photographed, or that, I contract for work, and a couple friends and stuff. So I remember I had like a Facebook group chat, like, where I had added a few people and been like, if you know anybody else who wants to do it, add them to the chat. And it was called like beat up in a cage or something. Like, it was pretty, I mean, that's really what it was. I'm like, so this isn't pretty, but yeah. So I photographed them, obviously, not on the back of a truck in a cage that doesn't exist. So I create my work by taking a lot of different photographs and putting them together. It's called compositing. I don't use any stock. That would make my life a lot easier, because I could just buy the pieces that I'm looking for on the internet. But I can't do that, because if I do, then I can't submit to competition, which I like to do. So you have to expose every part of the image yourself. So the cage, I had like a few bars that I photographed like at different angles, at all different angles, and then I built it in Photoshop, like bar by bar. I had
Wow.
the women like holding on to the actual bars that I had. Like I think I had like three or four, so that they were interacting with them, and then I could add in more. After the truck is an actual truck, but I just cut off the back part. The alien was like my husband. I had him like slowly dragged in front of my camera at like a really slow speed, which in retrospect, I probably could have done that a lot easier, just by like drawing it or something, but I didn't.
But it's cool. It's cool that you still did it with photography, and it's so even though I'm assuming it was digital photography, but still, it's kind of like in an analog way, if that makes sense, versus like post, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every bit of it. It like I actually put a video of the making of, so you can like see all the little steps. It took forever. Like it probably took me, I don't know. I'm gonna say like easily like 50 hours of just like meticulous editing because it needs to look real, and it starts off, not looking that way. Even the humans that are in there, I only had 7, so I knew I needed more. So I had to like multiply them and like really change their faces so that they would not be like recognizable, change their hair, change their hair color, all that sort of stuff. So, but I just love how it turned out. It might be one of my favorites forever.
It's a very cool piece. And, I want to talk about one more piece that I think is also in line with this for a number of reasons. And I think people would be pretty fascinated to hear about it. And that's this one. So, can we talk about this one? Because as a photographer, I'd imagine that this would be incredibly challenging to create, especially without stock. And there was some, obviously, some post in this one.
Yeah. So funny, behind me, you can't see it right now, but there's like a skeleton behind me that I bought after the fact that I wish that I'd had before I made that image. But anyway, skeleton for when I need bones. But yeah, the like I'm vegan, I'm an animal rights activist, and a lot of, you hear like you are what you eat, or be a garden, not a graveyard. Like these are sort of things things that people say. And this particular person, her name's Shelby. She's vegan, and she just like glows. She's just one of those people. She looks like a piece of fruit. Like that's what I think she looks like. Like, and I just thought it would be a cool idea to like make someone out of, like fruit and vegetables. And I thought she would be the perfect one. So I photographed her. Obviously, that's not her body, but I had to draw. So in Photoshop, I actually drew that rib cage because at the time I didn't have a skeleton. Um, and yeah, I photographed the fruit separately, and then I worked it all together. So that is almost a bit of an illustration. It's like the first time that I ever did that. It's kind of made me realize like, I might be capable of drawing.
Well, but and maybe, yeah, I totally get why you would say that. But the fact that this fruit is photographed, right? And the shadows, the lighting all works. Like I think people don't and the fact that you're incorporating a drawing of this skeleton and it all is super super cohesive. I think that people need to sort of appreciate the challenge associated with that. Like that is not easy. It's almost like collage based art at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, so for me, because I think because of like how I have learned to edit, I've learned a lot about like using like dodge and burning, or like adding light and shadow to create like depth and change, the way that you see things. And I've just been using that to the point where I can literally make, a rib cage out of it, starting with something flat and then just sort of like shaping it. But yeah, making everything match and cohesive is, I think, something that I don't know. Like for me, it's not that it's hard; it's time consuming. But like I got a
But you
lot,
can do it.
yeah, I got a lot of years of obsessive time spent on Photoshop. Like, what do they say? Like 10,000 hours makes you an expert. I've probably like quadrupled that at this point. Like, I spend every day probably like 8 hours a day on Photoshop. either removing double chins for people or making one eye, match the other or whatever. Like all these things. And then doing these creative images just pushes that to like the next level where every time I make one, I learn how to do something new. So yeah, it's fun. I like I have like an idea in my head and then I usually don't know how I'm gonna do it. And I just kind of go for it. And failure is not an option. Basically, I'll figure it
Failure
out.
is not an option. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, like people really need to understand. Like, I know I'm like harping on this all of a sudden, but it's like even an incredibly talented photographer or photo manipulator does not just roll out of bed and make this combination of a portrait photograph, a drawn skeleton, and pictures of fruits and vegetables work. Like that is with the lighting and the way that it's framed. I mean, even talking about the assembly of it, because so did you photograph each individual fruit or vegetable, or did you photograph them as a group?
So I put them together on the floor and photographed them. And then I like move them around. I think I photographed them like 3 times in different angles because I didn't know what was going to fit right into the rib cage.
Right.
It's like a combination of multiple fruit images. But it was funny because I bought like a whole bag of fruit from Walmart. And after one of my friends was like, the bananas look gross. I'm like, they're from Walmart. Like, what do you want? Like,
The bananas look gross.
supposed to be bruised anyway. Like, I think you're supposed to eat them when they're like getting a little browner. She was like, I don't know. Walmart.
that, that was her feedback. The
Right.
bananas look bruised. It's like, thanks. All right. I'm glad I put hours into this. Yeah, that's funny.
But
Um,
I send everything to her and I just always say, shred it, like rip it apart. Give me every complaint you think any judge would, because you're putting it up in front of 6, master photographers and you're saying,
right.
pick it apart. That's what they do, right? No, even the images that I've gotten like almost 100% on, they'll still find something to complain about. Um, so yeah, it needs to go through a lot of sets of eyes. So I think it's funny because sometimes people will be like, "Oh, like I don't want to like hurt your feelings, but that's not my favorite." I'm like, "You cannot hurt my feelings. You have no."
Man, it must be like, I don't even know what, the Devil Wears Prada photography edition, you know?
Oh yeah, they can be brutal, that's for sure. I actually just got my certificate so that I can judge here in Canada for photo competitions. And I feel like I don't want to. I feel like everyone's going to hate me because I'll be the mean judge. I'm like,
Yeah, that's a decision you have to make. If you're going to do it, you got to own it, you know? So people are going to know, don't play around with Victoria West. Your game better be on point.
yeah, well, I got a high expectation for myself. So when I see people putting stuff in that I'm like, there's obvious issues, I have no mercy.
No mercy. That should be the name of a project for you. Just no mercy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so people could follow you at vwestphoto_NB. I have it right there on screen. Everyone can follow you on Twitter. Your website is Victoria. Can you give people your website? Sorry.
Yeah, it's Victoria West Portrait. And for the NFT, victoriawestportrait.com. For the NFT specific site, I've done like kind of a branch off. So it's victoriawestportrait.com /NFT art. But if you go to my Twitter, it's linked right there as well. I think I
Yep,
got
everything.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. And you have we're looking out for an individual Maker's Place drop and maybe a collectibles drop. Wink, wink. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's my really cute Redmond right there.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, and I wanted to close. I just was going to say, I know that you're an animal lover. Last time we talked, I noticed you had, a few dogs behind you. You're a pit bull owner, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I have a Polly the pit bull.
Just one sec.
Oh my God, are you picking up? Oh, so sweet. It looks a lot like my girl, but different color.
Oh yeah. Well, she's a fan of the show. She's a fan of your photography. She told me so.
Cute.
All right, Victoria. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really glad that we were able to reconnect. Sounds like we should reconnect maybe towards the end of the year to see how things went, through this explosive fall. And I'm just excited to see what comes next for you. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you, everyone. Thanks for watching.